The red light from the dying star made everything look like blood. Commander Vexthara stood at the big window of her ship, watching another transport vessel break apart in space. Thousands of her people were inside that ship. Now they were all dead. Her hands shook as she gripped the metal rail. The Zelati had ruled 12 worlds for over 1,000 years. They had built great cities that touched the clouds. They had ships that could cross the galaxy in days. They had everything except time. "Commander," said her aide, his voice barely a whisper. The young Zelati's blue skin had turned pale with fear. "The star is dying faster now. Our scientists say we have maybe 6 months before it explodes." 6 months. Vexthara closed her 4 eyes and tried to think. 3 billion Zelati lived on the 12 worlds of their system. Their best evacuation ships could only carry a few thousand people each. Even if every ship worked perfectly, they could only save 3 million people. The rest would die when their star became a supernova. "What about the other ships?" she asked. "The mining vessels, the cargo haulers, the passenger liners." "Most are already broken, Commander. The star's radiation is getting stronger every day. Our ship engines cannot handle it much longer. We lose more vessels every time they try to leave the system." Vexthara walked to her command chair. The bridge around her was filled with Zelati officers working at their stations. But she could see the hopelessness in their movements. They were just going through the motions now. Everyone knew the truth. The Zelati civilization was going to die. "Commander, we have a message from the Galactic Council," said her communications officer. The Galactic Council. Vexthara felt a tiny spark of hope. The Council ruled over hundreds of species across the galaxy. They had resources that could save everyone. She had sent them dozens of requests for help over the past months. "Put it on the main screen," she ordered. The image of High Arbiter Coolmass appeared on the display. The hegemony leader looked like a giant insect made of metal and crystal. His voice was cold and emotionless when he spoke. "Commander Vexthara of the Zelati Defense Force. The Galactic Council has reviewed your requests for evacuation assistance. After careful analysis of resource costs and strategic benefits, we have reached our decision." Vexthara held her breath. This was it. The Council would send their massive evacuation fleets. The Zelati would be saved. The Council hereby classifies the Zelati system as a statistical loss. The cost of mounting a full evacuation operation exceeds acceptable parameters. Your species' contribution to galactic civilization does not justify the expense. This decision is final. The transmission ended. The bridge fell completely silent. Vexthara stared at the empty screen. Statistical loss. That was what 3 billion lives meant to the Council. Numbers on a report. An expense that was too high to pay. "Commander," her aide asked quietly, "what are your orders?" She looked around the bridge at her officers. These were good people who had served faithfully for years. They deserved better than to die forgotten in the darkness of space. Everyone in the system deserved better. "Open a channel to all Zelati ships and colonies," she commanded. "Channel open, Commander." Vexthara stood up straight. Her people needed to know the truth, but they also needed to know that someone was still fighting for them. "Citizens of Zelati space, this is Commander Vexthara. I will not lie to you about our situation. The Galactic Council has abandoned us. They believe we are not worth saving. But I do not accept this decision." She paused, looking out at the dying red star that had warmed their worlds for millions of years. "We are Zelati. We have survived ice ages and asteroid impacts. We have built wonders that amazed the galaxy. We have explored distant stars and made friends with alien species. We are not just statistics on some council report. We are people with hopes and dreams and families we love." Her voice grew stronger as she spoke. "I am activating our long-range distress beacon. I will broadcast our situation to every corner of the galaxy. Someone out there must care about justice. Someone must believe that all life has value. We will not die quietly in the dark." She nodded to her communications officer, who began preparing the transmission equipment. "This is Commander Vexthara of the Zelati Defense Force broadcasting on all emergency frequencies. Our star is dying and our people face extinction. The Galactic Council has refused to help us. We are 3 billion souls in desperate need of evacuation assistance. Any species receiving this message, please respond. We are running out of time. We are not asking for charity. We are asking for compassion." The message shot out into space at the speed of light, racing past dead worlds and empty systems toward the distant rim of the galaxy. Vexthara knew the chances were small that anyone would answer. Most civilized species followed council decisions. But maybe, somewhere in the vast darkness between the stars, someone would hear their call and decide that Zalati lives were worth saving. She had to believe that. Without hope, they had nothing left at all. 4 months had passed since the Galactic Council abandoned them. Commander Vexthara had not slept properly in weeks. Every day brought new reports of failing ships, broken life support systems, and people dying from radiation sickness. The dying star was getting angrier, sending out waves of deadly energy that killed anything that got too close. She walked through the corridors of her command ship, looking at her crew. They were all thin now. Food was running low across the entire system. The Zalati had never learned how to grow crops in space. They had always traded with other worlds for supplies. But now no ships came to trade. No one wanted to risk entering a system with a dying star. "Commander, the daily reports are ready," said her aide. His blue skin looked grey under the emergency lighting. Half the ship's power systems had failed yesterday. Vexthara took the data pad and read the numbers. They hurt to look at. 847,000 Zalati were still alive. That sounded like a big number, but she remembered when it was 3 billion. Every day, the number got smaller. The evacuation ships were breaking down faster than they could fix them. Yesterday, the cargo vessel New Hope had lost all power while carrying 15,000 refugees. The ship was drifting in space now, its people slowly freezing to death. There was nothing anyone could do to help them. "Any response to our distress signals?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. "Nothing, Commander. We have sent over 200 messages. The beacon has been broadcasting for 4 months. Either no one is listening, or no one cares." Vexthara nodded and continued walking. She stopped at the observation deck, looking out at the red star that was killing her people. It looked bigger than before, and angrier. The science team said it was swelling up like a balloon. Soon it would explode and destroy everything in the system. She pressed her hand against the cold metal wall. Sometimes she wondered if the council was right. Maybe the Zalati were not worth saving. Maybe they were just meant to die here, forgotten by the galaxy. "Commander." The voice came from behind her, full of excitement. She turned to see Lieutenant Kexval running toward her. The young communications officer looked more awake than anyone had in months. "What is it, Lieutenant?" "Something is happening on the outer sensors. We are detecting ships, Commander. Unknown ships approaching our system." Vexthara felt her heart skip a beat. Ships meant hope. Ships meant someone had heard their calls for help. "Council vessels?" she asked, following the lieutenant back toward the bridge. "No, Commander. These are not like anything in our database. The computer cannot identify them. They are using technology we have never seen before." They reached the bridge and Vexthara looked at the sensor displays. 12 dots of light were moving toward their system from the direction of the galactic rim. That was strange. Everyone knew that area of space was empty. No intelligent life could survive out there. "Show me what they look like," she ordered. The main screen flickered and showed images captured by their long-range cameras. The ships were beautiful and strange at the same time. They had smooth metal hulls that shined silver and blue in the starlight. Strange symbols were painted on their sides in bright colors. The ships moved together like a school of fish, changing direction at exactly the same time. "Commander, they are trying to communicate with us," reported her communications officer. "Put it through the main speakers." Static filled the bridge, and then a voice came through. It was speaking Galactic Standard, but the accent was wrong. The words sounded clumsy, like someone who had learned the language from books instead of speaking it. "Zalati ships, this is Captain Minutho of the UES Defiance. We received your distress signal. We are here to help." Vexthara stared at the communication panel. In all her years of military service, she had never heard those words before. No species ever said "we are here to help" without asking for something in return first. "Unknown vessel, this is Commander Vexthara of the Zalati Defense Force. Please identify your species and your intentions." "Commander Vexthara, we are humans from a planet called Earth. We picked up your emergency broadcasts about 4 months ago. It took us this long to get here. We brought ships to help evacuate your people." Humans? Vexthara had never heard of them. She looked at her science officer, who was checking the computer databases. "Nothing in our records, Commander. No species called humans. No planet called Earth." "Captain Minutho, you should know that approaching this system violates Galactic Council safety protocols. The Council has declared this area off-limits to all traffic." There was a pause, and then the human captain spoke again. His voice sounded confused. Commander, we do not know anything about your Galactic Council. We are from far away, near the edge of the galaxy. We heard people calling for help, so we came to help. That is what people do, right? Vexthara felt something strange in her chest. It took her a moment to recognize what it was. For the first time in months, she felt hope. Captain Minute-Ho, how many people can your ships carry? We brought 12 ships, Commander. Each one can take about 10,000 passengers. But we have more ships coming from Earth. Lots more. Captain Minute-Ho appeared on the bridge through a fuzzy holographic projector. The image kept flickering and jumping, but Vexthara could see him clearly enough. He was a strange creature, standing on two legs like the Zelati but with smooth pink skin instead of blue scales. Hair covered the top of his head, and his eyes were small and dark. Captain Minute-Ho, Vexthara began carefully, I must warn you that your presence here breaks many galactic laws. The Hegemony Council has marked this system as dangerous. They will not be happy if they find out you are here. The human's face changed in a way she had never seen before. His mouth curved upward at the corners. She wondered if this meant he was sick or in pain. Commander, we come from a place very far from here. We do not know about your council or their laws. We only know that people are dying and we have ships that can help them. Vexthara looked at the data her senses were showing her. The human ships were primitive in many ways. They had no energy shields to protect them from weapons. Their hulls were made of simple metal that would break easily in a fight. Their engines used basic fusion power that most civilized species had stopped using centuries ago. Your technology appears to be quite limited, Captain, she said, trying to be polite. How do you plan to help us with such basic equipment? Another human appeared in the hologram next to Captain Minute-Ho. This one was smaller and had longer hair. The voice was higher when she spoke. Commander Vexthara, I am Lieutenant Hai-Jin, chief of our evacuation planning team. We have studied your distress signals carefully. Our 12 ships can carry about 120,000 people in one trip. We have already sent messages back to Earth asking for every ship we can find. Vexthara felt confused. These humans seemed to understand exactly how many Zelati needed to be saved, but they were offering to help anyway. No species did that. When the numbers were too big, everyone walked away. Lieutenant, my people number almost 1 million survivors. Your ships would need to make many dangerous trips through a dying star system. The radiation alone would probably kill your crews. Captain Minute-Ho stepped forward in the hologram. Then we make as many trips as it takes, Commander. Our engineers are already working on ways to protect our ships from the radiation. But why? Vexthara asked. The question had been bothering her since the humans first appeared. What do you want in return? Trading rights? Territory? Mineral rights to our dead worlds? The two humans looked at each other with confusion. Lieutenant Hai-Jin spoke first. Commander, we do not want anything from you. We heard people asking for help, so we came to help. That is what neighbors do for each other. But we are not neighbors, Vexthara said. You said you come from the edge of the galaxy. Our species have never met before. We have never traded or signed any treaties. Why would you risk your lives for strangers? Captain Minute-Ho was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was soft. Commander, on our world we have a saying. It means that every person's life has value, no matter who they are or where they come from. When someone is in trouble, you help them if you can. You do not ask what you will get back. You help because it is the right thing to do. Vexthara had trouble understanding this idea. In galactic civilization, everything was about trade and benefit. Species helped each other because they got something valuable in return. The idea of helping strangers for free made no sense. Captain, I need to understand your plan better. Even if you can carry all my people, where will you take them? Every world in Council space follows their orders. No one will accept Zelati refugees. We have already thought about that, Lieutenant Hai-Jin said. Earth has many empty worlds in our territory. Good worlds with clean water and air that can grow food. Our government has agreed to let your people settle on any world you choose. For free? Vexthara asked. For free, Captain Minute-Ho confirmed. We will also help you build new cities and start farms. Some of our people are very good at building things quickly. Vexthara walked to her command chair and sat down heavily. This was too good to be true. In her experience, when something seemed too good to be true, it usually was. Captain, I need to ask you a direct question. Are you sure your leaders on Earth have approved this plan? This rescue operation will cost enormous amounts of money and resources. Many of your people might die helping us. Are you certain your government wants to take such a big risk for strangers? Captain Minutho's expression became very serious. Commander, I will be honest with you. Many people on Earth said this mission was too dangerous. They said we should stay home and let the galaxy solve its own problems. But more people said we had to try. They said that if we could save a whole civilization and we chose not to, we would not be able to live with ourselves. He paused and looked directly at her through the flickering hologram. Commander Vexthara, we are here because saving lives is more important than being safe. Your people deserve a chance to live. We are going to give you that chance. Chief Engineer Taehyun stood in the middle of the Zelati Command Center, waving his hands at the big holographic display showing their dying star. His hair was messy and his uniform was dirty from working on broken machines for 3 days straight. The plan he was explaining sounded completely insane. You want to fly ships directly into our star? Commander Vexthara asked. She was sure her translator was broken. No intelligent being would suggest something so dangerous. Not into the star exactly, Taehyun said patiently. We fly close to the star and inject compressed hydrogen into the core using our ship engines as giant needles. It will not fix the star forever, but it should make it stable for about 6 months. That gives us enough time to evacuate everyone. Senior Science Advisor Kethmore made a clicking sound with his mouth that meant he thought someone was crazy. The old Zelati had been studying stars for 50 years. Human Taehyun, your plan violates every law of physics I know. The amount of energy needed would be enormous. The heat near the star would melt your ships before you could deliver the hydrogen. Even if you somehow succeeded, the star would probably explode anyway. Taehyun smiled that strange human expression. You are probably right. But we have calculated that there is a 12% chance the plan will work. Those are not good odds, but they are better than 0. 12%, Vexthara repeated slowly. You are willing to die for a 12% chance. Commander, we did not come this far to give up now. Captain Sangwoo's engineering team has volunteered to fly the first wave of ships. Everyone knows it is dangerous, but everyone also knows it might be the only way to save your people. Through the observation windows, Vexthara could see human workers moving around the outside of their ships. They were welding thick metal plates to the hulls and installing strange new equipment. The humans worked quickly, but their methods looked chaotic compared to proper Zelati engineering. What are they doing to your ships? She asked. Making them stronger, Taehyun explained. We are adding extra shielding and cooling systems. We are also removing everything that is not absolutely necessary to make room for the hydrogen tanks. Lieutenant Kexval ran up to them, holding a communication device. Commander, we are receiving a message from the Galactic Council monitoring station. Put it on the speakers, Vexthara ordered. The cold voice of High Arbiter Coolmass filled the room. Attention all vessels in the Zelati system. The Galactic Council has been monitoring the situation and declares the human plan to be criminally dangerous. Any species attempting stellar manipulation will be held responsible for the consequences. All ships should maintain minimum safe distance from the star. The transmission ended. Taehyun looked confused. What does that mean? He asked. It means the council thinks your plan will make things worse, Vexthara explained. If you accidentally cause the star to explode early, they will blame humanity for killing everyone in the system. Taehyun was quiet for a moment. Then he shrugged his shoulders. The star is going to explode anyway. We might make it happen a little sooner, or we might give everyone 6 more months of life. I would rather try and fail than not try at all. More human ships were arriving every hour. Vexthara watched them through the telescope displays. Each new ship looked different from the others, as if the humans had built them using whatever materials they could find. Some were painted bright colors. Others were covered with words and symbols she could not read. How many ships are coming? She asked. 43 so far, Taehyun said. More are on the way. Earth sent every ship that could make the journey. Military vessels, cargo haulers, passenger liners, even some private yachts. Everyone wanted to help. A new voice came over the communication system. It was Captain Minutho speaking to all the human ships at once. All vessels, this is Defiance. We begin the stellar insertion operation in 6 hours. I know the odds are not good, but remember why we are here. We are not just trying to save lives today. We are proving that impossible is just another word for something nobody has tried hard enough yet. Vexthara felt something strange happening in her chest. The humans were about to attempt something that every expert said would fail. They were going to fly their primitive ships into the most dangerous place in the solar system. Many of them would die. All of them might die. But they were doing it anyway. She thought about the Galactic Council and their careful calculations. They had decided that saving the Zelati was too expensive and too risky. The smart thing to do was to let them die and avoid any danger. The humans had made a different calculation. They had decided that some things were more important than being smart or safe. Engineer Taehyun, she said. What can my people do to help? We need all your remaining scientists to monitor the star during the operation. If something goes wrong, they might see it before we do. That could give us a few extra seconds to escape. You will have every scientist we have left, Vexthara promised. And Taehyun? Thank you for trying. The human engineer nodded seriously. Commander, we will not let your people down. Even if we fail, we will fail trying our hardest. The star stopped dying. Commander Vexthara stared at the readings on her screen for the 10th time, unable to believe what she was seeing. The red giant that had been swelling toward explosion was now burning steady and bright. The deadly radiation that had been killing her people for months was down to normal levels. The impossible human plan had actually worked. Commander, the stellar core temperature has stabilized, reported her science officer, his voice full of amazement. Fusion processes are back to normal parameters. The star should remain stable for at least 6 months, maybe longer. Through the observation deck windows, she could see human ships returning from their suicide mission. Half of them were badly damaged, their hulls blackened and melted from the incredible heat near the star. 3 ships had not returned at all. But the survivors were flying in formation, their running lights blinking in celebration. Captain Minute-Ho's voice came over the communication system, weak but happy. All ships, this is Defiance. Mission accomplished. The star is stable. Begin immediate evacuation operations. Vexthara closed her 4 eyes and felt tears running down her face. For the first time in almost a year, her people had a future. 6 months later, she stood in the command center of New Zelati, the colony world that the humans had given to her people. The planet was beautiful, with blue oceans and green forests that reminded her of the old homeworld. Through the big windows, she could see Zelati children playing in the gardens alongside human children. The 2 species looked very different, but they laughed the same way. Commander, we have a message from the Galactic Council, her aide announced. Vexthara turned away from the window. What do they want now? High Arbiter Coolmass is requesting a formal meeting. He wants to discuss what he calls the implications of human interference in galactic affairs. Vexthara made a sound that was almost like human laughter. Tell the High Arbiter that the Zelati no longer recognize Council authority over rescue operations. If he wants to discuss implications, he can talk to Captain Sujin. She is our new ambassador to the human government. Her aide looked surprised. We have an ambassador to Earth now. We have many things now that we did not have before, Vexthara said. Hope, for one thing. Captain Minute-Ho entered the command center, carrying a data pad and walking slowly. The radiation from the star had hurt him badly during the rescue operation. His skin was marked with permanent scars and his hair had turned white. But when he smiled, his dark eyes still held the same determination that had saved her people. Commander, we have been monitoring galactic communication channels, he said, showing her the data pad. Word about our rescue operation is spreading across the galaxy. We are receiving distress calls from many different species that the Council has abandoned. Vexthara looked at the list of names on the screen. 17 different species, all facing disasters that the Galactic Council had decided were too expensive to fix. What does your government on Earth say about these requests for help? She asked. Minute-Ho's smile grew wider. They say we are going to need bigger ships. As if summoned by his words, Lieutenant Hyjin entered the command center with an excited expression. Commander Vexthara, Captain Minute-Ho, you need to see this. We just received a message from Earth. She activated the holographic display, and the image of an older human appeared. His uniform was covered with symbols that meant he was important in the human military. Captain Minute-Ho, this is Admiral Jongsu speaking for Earth Command. The success of your rescue operation has inspired our entire planet. The Earth government has approved the construction of a new fleet designed specifically for humanitarian missions. We are calling it the Hope Fleet. The Admiral paused and looked directly at the camera. We are also pleased to announce that the Zelati government has agreed to share their advanced technology with us. Working together, we believe we can build ships capable of helping any species in need, anywhere in the galaxy. The transmission ended. Vexthara felt a warm feeling in her chest as she realized what this meant. "You are going to do this again, aren't you?" she asked Minute. "You are going to help all those other species that the Council has abandoned." "Not just us," Minute replied. "We are going to do it together. The Zelati and humans, working as partners. Your people have the scientific knowledge and we have the determination. Combined, we can save anyone." Vexthara walked back to the window and looked out at the thriving colony. In the distance, she could see construction crews building new cities where thousands more refugees would soon live. Zelati and human engineers worked side by side, combining their different approaches to create something better than either could build alone. A year ago, her people had been dying and forgotten, abandoned by a galaxy that saw them as nothing more than numbers on a report. Today, they were part of something new and wonderful. They were part of a partnership that refused to let anyone die alone in the darkness. The Galactic Council had taught the galaxy that some lives were worth more than others. That some disasters were too expensive to fix. That compassion was a luxury that civilized species could not afford. The humans had taught a different lesson. They had shown that every life had value. That impossible just meant nobody had tried hard enough yet. That sometimes, the most advanced civilizations were not the ones with the best technology, but the ones who remembered what it meant to care about strangers. Vexthara smiled as she watched human and Zelati children playing together in the garden. The galaxy was about to learn that lesson too.